in San Diego to do case studies. Each month, a member will present a case study about a particular client with the 5 pillars. Then we open it up, and it gives us an opportunity for a lot of input and a lot of people to look at how their resources or their perspective or experience can add to what the person who is working with that client can offer. And so I'm going to walk you through a quick case study that we did. Okay. She says casually. So we're looking at the 5 pillars of the Act 3: home safety, health, finances, transportation, community, and social interaction. So for our case study, our client introduction is Mike and Christine Freeman, both in their early 80s, 2 children, son and daughter, living in a 2-story home. Mike is a retired Navy officer with Pentagon experience. As I learned doing the home safety evaluation with the giant plaques on the wall. He'd had a recent fall and a visit to the ER, which prompted his call to me. And Christine was in mid-stage dementia. So that's the basics. So the first pillar is their home, and his primary concern was safety in the home. So he, Mike, as Christine's primary caregiver, did literally everything for her. Woke her up in the morning, dressed her, set her at the vanity, handed her her lipstick. She did her lipstick, and then he took her out into the kitchen where he prepared the breakfast. So that was just the early part. But within his home, because the bedroom was upstairs and the master bath was upstairs, every night he would move a huge armchair to the top of the stairs so that if she were to walk to the bathroom, she wouldn't accidentally fall down the stairs. And so with his recent fall and trip to the ER, he realized that for those hours that he was at the hospital and not able, she was basically home alone. And that frightened him more than his own fall. So we were looking at a number of things in his home, primarily to make it safer for her to continue to navigate and live in the house. And so part of my process is evaluation of where they are, what their needs are, and to look at some short-term recommendations. Now, in their home, it turned out there was an office room on the main floor that could be converted to a bedroom. When there was a bathroom on the main floor that would not require very many adaptations to at least be safer for them to both be using. And so those are large changes. And so we looked at some very simple things he could do right away for the next couple of weeks to keep her safe while the bedroom stayed up on the 2nd floor. But the process was helping them develop short-term recommendations, then longer term, and also then providing options and the resources. So this is the key to NAIPC, is who are the resources that can actually help put the lighting in along the pathway? Who can install the grab bars? Who can do those things professionally, licensed, in town, vetted resources? Members of NAIPC most of the time too, I will tell you. So that was the first pillar, was looking at what was going on. And so the second pillar for them is their healthcare concerns. So Mike's recent fall really was the trigger for him to look now for the first time at any frailty on his part. And he had no underlying conditions or anything that he shared with me, because his concern was really about Christine's well-being and how they were moving forward. But it also gave him an opportunity to identify the fact that he needed respite. And that was another opportunity with my NAIPC resources to offer that and to offer some solutions for him as well. The next pillar is financial resources, and that is not my specialty. And I tell folks right up front. However, they own their home. He appeared to have adequate resources when we were talking, but he acknowledged the fact that he needed to do some planning. He needed to take a look at the big picture for them. Now, I'm going to tell you at the end that I handed him the Act 3 plan, but we really began to discuss it as part of our conversation. When we moved past what were some of the options for him on the home side, then the Act 3 plan came right out of my briefcase and said, we've got lots of considerations here, and I would like to offer this to you. His son lived close by and was engaged and would actually be a great participant and would work with his dad in terms of helping to really take a look at for his dad and mom and their overall financial resources. But within our chapter, we have reverse mortgage specialists, we have financial planners and advisors, and we have estate planning folks. So there's a range of resources in our directory that I could also offer to Mike for he and Christine. The next was transportation. And transportation is often a sticking point for many clients. Naturally, he was the sole driver. So for them right now, transportation was not really an issue. But it's an important reminder when we go through the whole plan with a client to see what would happen if for some reason he couldn't drive. Then what are the other pieces that need to be in place to be able to get Christine to the doctor, etc. So transportation can be one of those little underlying pieces that only comes to the forefront when we either ask people to really take a look across all of the issues in their lives, or it comes up with a trigger event. So it's important not to discount transportation. Social and community interaction. Mike loved to play golf and hadn't played golf in a long time. They had been active church attendees, and they have some immediate family. So that was the social world. And I think, again, looking at the respite opportunity for Mike would also give him a chance to be able to have some more community interaction and social interaction. Now, granted, this case study was done pre-COVID. I worked with these clients pre-COVID. And so many of what our choices are now vary. And we have some very different emphasis now for many of our clients in the almost post-COVID world. So again, using the Act 3 plan to allow people to look now. We don't have a new normal. We don't know what our life is even going to be like a year from now. And neither does anyone else, and neither do our clients. So I think providing the reassurance of resources now, but asking them to think about what are these key things? What are the things that are the most important to us? So in summary, before Tara rings the bell on me, so for Mike and Christine, I did present the Act 3 plan. I was able to recommend NAIPC member companies for installation of the home safety products, for the financial review, for benefits for her care, for maybe some of the home modification, and an evaluation for some home care and respite support for Mike. And then, having presented this at the chapter, it was opened up to lots of questions and inputs from other members as well. So this is me, Fritzi Grodion, and I would like to also offer to you through Household Guardians. I do the CAPS training. Anyone who is interested in the Certified Aging in Place training can please use the member price. And through Age Safe America, we offer the Senior Home Safety Specialist course. And it's an online course. And there is an NAIPC 100 course code that allows you to save $100 on that course as well. NAIPC 100. So I am happy to take questions about the case study format and why it works in our chapter, or about the client, or anything.
This is great. Thank you so much, Fritzi, for sharing that. I love that they do this at every meeting, and I'd like to start doing it at every national meeting as well, just to show how we all work together. Mm-hmm. And I'm also going to take this case study that you presented and open it up to the floor. So if any of you have ideas or tips or things that could improve the situation, send me an email. I'll put my email in the chat box, and we are going to put this case study in our next national newsletter and really open it up for discussion that way as well. So I'm going to put that in the chat box right after I introduce our speaker. So thank you, Fritzi, for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
That. Yes. And she's the Director of Education at Age Safe America. I think I forgot to mention that at the beginning. So we are honored to have you present our very first case study. So thank you. And Carmen is going to be our guest speaker today. Carmen and I, there are some people when you just meet and you're like instant friends. That's how I feel with Carmen. She and I connected instantly, and her passion for seniors, you all will see it the second she starts talking. So she joined our group this year, and she is part of the San Francisco chapter and looking to start perhaps a chapter in the Sacramento Valley area. So we're excited to have you a part of our group, and I'm excited to have you present your information today. We got a lot of feedback about this topic, so it's something that I know a lot of folks, if they're not watching it live, they will be watching the replay. So thank you for sharing your information, Carmen, and I will turn it over to you. I'll man the chat box, so if you have questions along the way, just pop them in there and we'll make sure they're addressed at the end. So thanks, Carmen, for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I agree. The second I met Tara, I was so excited because we have this dual passion for serving this community. So thank you guys so much for having me. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. We're going to pray that the Zoom gods are with me this morning. And here we go. All right. Well, maybe we don't want to look at me while I do this. All right, everyone. Well, just a little background about me. I am very grateful to be here this morning and sharing navigating aid and attendance with you. It is a complicated process. There are 101 questions about it. So let's get right in. A quick little background about me. I am the Vice President of National Accounts with the Veticis Program. I have over 20 years of experience in the healthcare space. I've had the pleasure of actually working on the administration teams in multiple levels of care. So to include assisted living facilities, skilled nursing, subacute centers, and even hospitals. I have a really deep understanding of the cost of care and potential funding sources for care, from home care all the way through to hospice. I joined Veterans Home Care in 2012. So I'm in my 10th year, and I couldn't be more proud of what I get to do here every day. It's an honor to assist this very deserving demographic, and I consider my role to be a privilege that I thoroughly enjoy. My current role allows me to coordinate with some of the largest home care providers nationwide. And in doing that, we're developing strategies to solve some of the challenges that are facing the healthcare at home industry. So enough about me. Let's move on. So for our presentation today, my goal is that you're going to leave with an understanding of what aid and attendance is, who qualifies for it, some information on what's needed to get an application approved, and where potential applicants can go to get assistance. I'm going to go ahead and just dive right into the information. I do want to give you just a little, preview that there's a lot of information here. My goal is that if you guys ask for this deck, you'll be able to go through this with the and get information you need out of it without my words. So we're not going to read it all to you, but there is a lot of meat in here, and I'm really hoping to answer a lot of your questions. And if I don't, pop them in the chat and we'll get them answered at the end. So just a brief history lesson. About almost 70 years ago, Congress passed legislation authorizing veterans benefits under United States Code Title 38. There were two separate disability programs established under Title 38. The first is service-connected disability compensation. Everybody knows about service-connected disability compensation. It's when your disability is directly connected to your military service. It is a widely known, widely used, widely accessed compensation benefit program through the VA. The second benefit program that was established under Title 38 is non-service connected pension. It is completely separate from service-connected disability. It's important to note, though, that both of these programs have specific eligibility requirements, and both have a benefit component for the surviving spouses and dependents of the veteran. So that's important to note, because not a lot of benefits are for surviving spouses as well. So aid and attendance, the non-service connected disability part, the VA pension, it's only paid to veterans or survivors. This benefit is not payable to a third party. Again, very important to note. The additional amount of the pension, so we're talking about that non-service connected disability, that additional pension is known as aid and attendance. People commonly refer to the whole pension as aid and attendance, but I wanted to decipher those or explain those two to you so you can understand that it's actually an enhanced benefit of a pension. And it's really for those who need assistance with ADLs to remain safely in their home. So again, many are aware of the VA compensation about service connected. Many are not aware of the non-service connected part. And really, I believe that that's why it's so important that we take every opportunity to educate our aging community about the resources that are available to them. I mean, sharing this information with you guys today is a perfect example. We all know a veteran or someone who's married to a veteran, and this information that I'm going to share with you, it could prove to be life-changing for them when the time comes to them needing care. So this is just a quick visual, again, to demonstrate the difference between compensation and pension. Compensation, I think about the veterans that, I've met that have lost limbs, or that suffer from Agent Orange, or came back with a mental cognitive impairment from their military service. So if you think about all those veterans, that's really going to be, they are going to qualify for that compensation. It's typically going to be more than the pension. Now, the pension, it's not many, again, know that it exists, but the ones that know that about its existence, less of them even know who qualifies for it and how to access it. So both have a complicated and comprehensive application process. What I think about when I think about compensation and pension and how little veterans know about the pension, we have 9 million vets 65 and over in the United States, 9 million. Only 378,000 are accessing the pension benefit. So that tells me that we have a lot of work to do to get out there and let them know that this benefit's available to them. This is just a quick shot of the 2021 maximum pension amounts. So that amount you're looking at for the veteran, that's for a single veteran. The surviving spouse is the 1244. Those amounts are the pension with the aid and attendance also included. So those are the maximum amounts for this year per status. what I like to think about when I think about the benefits of this pension is I think that the funds are never going to run out. So these veterans and surviving spouses are going to have access to a benefit that's going to really give them a larger selection when it comes time to access care. They're going to be able to go to a better place because now they have that increased income to go there. And I really do believe that when we are in our communities telling people about this benefit, the best thing we can possibly do is get them where they can go to get the best help they need to get this benefit, so that when they get it, they can actually use it for the help they need. What's also important to note, as this pension, when it's used for care, it's not counted as income. So it's not going to make them ineligible for, say, a Medicaid or Medi-Cal program. It's not going to make them ineligible for any type of means-based benefit that they would get at the local or county level. So when anyone hears about a benefit from the VA, the first question is who qualifies? And we've really simplified this so it's an easily digestible thing to explain to someone else. So it comes down to three main qualifying factors: the military service, the medical need, and their money situation. So let's get into that a little bit. So the military service requires 90 days of active duty. The Gulf War and forward has to have at least 2 years of active duty. So that's the only caveat there. They have one of those active duty days has to be during a war period. You know, and again, when it says not required, what's not required is a veteran having to serve in combat or overseas. I think that's important to note. I once had a veteran who he served active duty during Vietnam, but he never left the base. He was actually an English teacher and he taught the students of all the children that lived on base. He never left the United States, and he qualified because he had 90 days active duty. So they don't have to have left the United States. They don't have to have been injured. They don't have to have been overseas. All they have to have had is that active duty and one of those days during a war period. And again, this is just the war periods. So you guys can have a quick visual if anyone wants the deck. These war periods will be at your fingertips. So the medical condition, you know, we're all, you know, in this healthcare space, we're aware of, you know, the healthcare challenges. And when you're thinking about 36 million people a year getting discharged from hospitals, and then you think about every 11 seconds, you've got a senior falling in their home. What better way to help them stay in their home than get them a benefit that helps them do so? So when it comes to their medical condition, we're looking for someone who's going to be about 60% homebound, which means they need assistance leaving their home. They're going to have to require assistance with 2 to 3 ADLs, which means personal care, meal preparation, transportation, all of that counts. That information, their medical condition is going to have to be certified by a physician. And really, their disability, we don't want it to be related to their service. Otherwise, we're going to apply them. They're going to need to apply for service-connected compensation. The final M is money. So the maximum allowable is just about over 130,000. The home they live in, their primary residence, and their car, that doesn't even count towards the net worth. Income is basically anything that they're receiving on an annual, quarterly, or monthly basis. It's all counted. The really cool thing about the income, though, is we can reduce that income with a medical expense, and I'll get more into that on the next slide. Liquid assets are going to be, you know, really self-explanatory. The way I explain it to our clients is anything that has a cash value that is attached to your Social Security number, that's going to be a liquid asset. And it's also important to note the VA look-back period. This is something that's relatively new. In 2018, so actually just a few years ago, the VA established a 3-year look-back for any assets that are transferred. And what they're looking for to see is this asset being transferred for less than market value. So this created a whole new level of complication when it came to completing these applications for our clients, because now we're having to recreate and reorder and refine 3 years of financials to make sure they qualify for this benefit. And I'm sure you can imagine the potential difficulties of doing that. However, even though this was established, when we help our clients complete these applications, we go through all of that to make sure that they will qualify and get approved for this benefit. So this slide is really important. In my experience, this information on this slide is what prevents most applicants from becoming entitled to this benefit. Not having this information will get an application denied every time. Misinterpreting this information will get you minimal or partial entitlements. I once had a client call me and they told me they got entitled for $35 a month. And I was like, well, what medical expenses did you submit? And I remember he told me, he said, well, I gave them a pharmacy receipt. Well, let me explain what happened with that applicant. So let's start with applicant A. If we just assume applicant A is getting $2,500 a month of income and they go and apply for aid and attendance, they're going to get 0 when it comes to their entitlement because they haven't submitted any medical deductions. Now, if you are making $2,500 a month and this veteran submitted a pharmacy receipt for $35, that veteran would get $35. So we go over now to applicant B. Same veterans getting $2,500 a month, but when they submitted their application, they submitted it with $2,700 a month of home care that they were paying for. That veteran is going to qualify for $2,295 because it's a married veteran. So they're going to qualify for the $1,520, which is the maximum pension amount, plus aid and attendance, which is $775, which would come to that total of $2,295 for a married veteran. That medical expense that you submit, that unreimbursable medical expense that's coming out of the veteran's pocket is the qualifying factor for getting aid and attendance. So I hope that's clear. I know it's a lot of information. I really want to try to simplify this. I was thinking, how do I explain this to somebody? Because it's taken me a long time to understand. And my sister told me, explain it like you're explaining it to your kids. Can't go wrong there. So if you guys have any questions, again, pop them in the chat. So when you have to submit a medical expense, the question is risen, what does the VA consider a medical expense? So if you think about anything that's coming out of a veteran's pocket, that's not going to be reimbursed by, say, insurance or Medicare or any other funding source. That's considered a medical expense. So for an example of the veteran, we just used home care because that's actually what the Veticis program uses. But adult daycare qualifies, medical insurance premiums qualify, incontinence supplies, medical alert devices, all of those qualify. So again, payments must be privately paid by the veteran, and there is actually going to have to be a payment record. So if you're receiving care or veterans receiving care from, say, a family member or a friend, there's going to have to be a payment record and an attendance affidavit to qualify that expense. So I love visuals. I just wanted to pop this up really quick. I know this is a nationwide organization, and this really gives us a visual of where the veterans are nationwide. As always, California is leading. It continues to be number 1 to where our veterans reside. Number 2 is Florida, which makes sense. Our 65 and over population is retiring where it's nice and sunny and warm. And Texas is number 3. So if you guys want to know a little more detail about where the veterans are in your states, let me know. We have all of this information detailed out by county. So where to get help? As a veteran or surviving spouse, you have a choice. There are 101 places you can go to get assistance with the application. There's no cost for help to get the application completed. You can go to a VA accredited attorney. You can go to a VSO, a financial advisor, nonprofit organizations. There's options for you out there. What I would say is that the Veticis program is the only one that's going to give that 0% interest loan that will help our veterans and spouses qualify for the maximum benefit available. And why that's important to note is because when you go directly to the VA, we've actually been able to determine that us at the Veticis program are able to get veterans and spouses 10% higher average payout than a VA directly. And really what I would attribute that to is the fact that we have that 18 years of experience where we know what to submit to make sure you get the maximum benefit available. And it took a lot of work to get there, but we're here. So the Veticis program difference, really what we're doing here is giving our clients the benefit of our 18 years of experience. And when we get referred a client that can't afford the cost of care, we're bridging that cost and that gap by providing a funding source so that they can get care quickly. We do that by giving them that 0% loan so they qualify for that maximum benefit available and that they can get care started right away. So we're eliminating the paperwork, we're eliminating the cost of out-of-pocket cost of care, and we're eliminating a waiting period to get care started. We also have strong partners nationwide that provide quality in-home care. Next to that, and something that we actually included in our program last year, we included this, is a medical alert system that we call Companion, and I'll get into that in just a few minutes, but it's an amazing device that has really changed interaction with care coordination teams nationwide. We also have our unique client services team that provide an ongoing support system throughout the life of the pension. Our goal is to help them access the pension and keep it for the remainder of their lives. So how do we find potential clients? It's so simple. We just ask these questions, and working with our network partners across the country, they can ask these simple questions as well. Is the client a veteran of wartime? Was the client married to someone who served during a war period? And do they need assistance to remain in their home and live safely? So next, I just want to get into a few tools that we have that are really helpful for our clients. And the first one I want to talk about is the Veticis Companion. This is the medical alert system I was just discussing with you guys. It has military grade encryption. So it's HIPAA compliant. And why that's important is because this device now allows clients that are in their home to interact with their care teams via voice activated phone calls or voice activated video calls. And during COVID, that was an amazing asset for clients that were homebound and isolated. It also allows them to interact with their friends and their family in a really entertaining way. It's a personal emergency response system, but it's got the benefits and entertainment of Alexa. So it's a great device. It's really important also to know this is a plug and play system. So it's not super complicated. It comes in a box, you plug it in, and it's ready to go. It's pre-programmed with family and friends' phone numbers. It's pre-programmed so that it cannot receive any robocalls. It's got an anonymity because it is HIPAA compliant. So it's a great device, and it comes included with our program. And it's also available to non-veteran seniors as well. So let me know if you guys are interested in learning a little bit more about that. I just wanted to mention we have this chatbot that is on our website, so that if you do have any additional questions about eligibility, or you have a client you want to ask them questions about, but you don't have time to hop on a phone call or send a text or wait for an email response, you can actually go directly to our website and interact with this chatbot, and it'll connect you directly to our enrollment team, and they can answer questions in real time. And again, it is secure and HIPAA compliant, so you guys can share any kind of information you need on that device or on the chatbot. We also have our Veticis app, and I really like to share this with everybody because it's available right now on any smartphone, your Google Play Store, on the Apple, and on the Apple App Store. But it has the eligibility checklist right at your fingertips, and this is really helpful for anybody who's in the field and right in front of a veteran or a surviving spouse, and they don't really quite know the questions to ask. If you log into our app, it has all the questions you need right there at your fingertips. Really, it's one-time registration, and it's really great for any clients that or anybody that wants to ask any questions about clients that are potentially qualifying for the benefit. And then just finally, we have our website. You can also, in the top corner of right corner of every one of our pages, there's an online referral form where you can submit questions. And again, it has that eligibility checklist for anyone who wants to find out more about who could qualify. And finally, just if you guys have any questions, I just want to say thank you for having me. I know that was a lot of information to download on you. And I really just wanted to make sure I got it all out there and got it into the deck so that you would be able to take this and, run with it and not have to have me sit here and explain it to you. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, that was great, Carmen. Thank you so much. And we have a lot of questions in the chat box. Yeah, clapping. Yay. Thank you. I know there's a button here I can push for clapping. I put a link in the chat box. If you enjoyed this presentation and you're not an NAIPC member, there's a link to join there where you can get so many more presentations just like this. And let me scroll to the top of the box for you, Carmen. So from Helen in Atlanta, is the POA for healthcare allowed to receive compensation on behalf of their veteran?
POA. So if there is cognitive impairment involved and there's a POA, the VA has a separate process for POAs. They won't necessarily accept the POAs. What they make you do is go through a fiduciary process. So it's like POA for VA, but once you become a fiduciary for a veteran or surviving spouse, then yes, they can receive it.
Great, thank you. And Sarah asks, if a veteran has a service-connected disability or has care needs, can he or she apply for either compensation or pension?
If they have a service-connected disability, they're going to apply for compensation first. And the reason why, and when we get any applicants that qualify for service-connected disability, we actually advise them to apply for compensation first, because that benefit, once you receive it, you've got it. And there's not a lot of strings attached to that one. Also, you're going to get more money with the compensation than you would with aid and attendance. It's a very limited benefit. It's a medical reimbursement pension. It's not an income pension. You can apply for both, but you're only going to get one. If you apply for compensation and you get rated maybe 1 through 30% disability, then you can apply for pension to supplement that. But if you're getting over, say, $1,000 for compensation, then sometimes it's not necessarily worth it to apply for aid and attendance as well, because your compensation piece is probably going to increase and you'll end up at 100%. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you. It's all very complicated. And then Rick says sick spouse, the veteran as well. Is that the question? What happens if the spouse is sick and the veteran as well? Do they qualify?
Very good question. So there used to be a benefit, and it was actually working quite well up until maybe I want to say about 5-6 years ago, where it's called WellVet Sick Spouse. But they stopped approving those applications. I don't know what happened. We didn't get any alerts. They didn't change any laws that we were aware of. We definitely did our research. But right now, in order to get an application approved, the veteran needs to qualify with their own disability. And what I will say to supplement that question is, most of the time I get a call from a veteran. He's like, I don't need the help. My wife needs the help, or, whatever the situation may be. And I tell him, well, what's going on with you? Like, let's talk about, and as soon as you get them talking, they've got just as many ailments as their spouse. So 9 times out of 10, we've been able to help the veteran and the spouse. Usually it's a situation where they're in crisis. And they both need the help, but one's just worse off. So we will attempt to dissect the real situation, the social situation, and get the benefit for both.
Okay, I think that happens a lot of times. We get call from people for other seniors when they need the help themselves as well. And Lisa says, does the VA require the vet to have a financial manager? I know you and Lisa are friends from way back, so.
I was so happy to see Lisa's name. When I first started working with seniors in the healthcare space, I found out about Lisa. Lisa Ramsey, if you guys do not know, has been helping seniors for a very long time and is a wonderful resource for us here, especially in California. So what was the question?
Does the VA require the vet to have a financial manager?
No, actually they don't. And the only time where they would require a financial manager is, again, if there's cognitive impairment.
Thank you, Carmen. You're so sweet.
And Kathy from Rochester is asking, is the look back period for just pension or compensation too?
It is just for pension. Compensation is not it's not a means-based pension, a means-based benefit. Aid in attendance is means-based. They're going to look at your income. They're going to look at your assets. They want to make sure that, you basically can't afford to pay this for the rest of your life without the help of the VA. Compensation is based solely on your disability.
Okay. And will you help a vet who is in an assisted living and not needing home care help?
So it really depends on what they're going to be using the pension for. We help every vet we can, just hands down. But when you're in an assisted living, most of your needs and care are being met. So we have to figure out, what are you going to use this pension for? Because that's the only way you can qualify, is whether you're using it for an unreimbursable medical expense. So if you're using it for equipment rental, or if you're using it for incontinence supplies or medical alert devices, that all qualifies. But if you're in an assisted living, we have to really dissect, what are you going to need the benefit for then?
So Carmen, this was one of my questions, and I recently adopted a 91-year-old veteran, Korean War veteran. And you know what, and I don't do placement, but I helped him get placed. No referral fee, just trying to make him in a better, safe environment. He's losing his cognitive abilities and getting more and more confused. One day he went for a walk and was lost for 3 hours. And so I just called my resources, and we helped him get placed, thank God. But his income is like less than $1,700. That's it.
Okay.
And he's a Korean War veteran. And so it appears as though he would qualify for the aid and attendance. I think, is the amount like 1920 or something like that for?
I think it's 1936.
1936. Yeah, that sounds right. And so he, in the assisted living, is $2,500 a month. So this would basically just be to help pay for his, room and, his costs to live there.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need home care. So I didn't know, I apologize. I don't really know your company, the services, how they work. So I was curious, would you guys help him apply for the VA benefit, even though he's not needing the home care loan?
Yeah. You know what I will say to you is this, in that particular case, and he's in an assisted living, correct?
Yes, I was able to pull some strings and get him in, even though they know he didn't have the money to pay, but we're going to help him get on the VA.
Yeah, no, it sounds to me, he's got a Korean War vet, he's got the medical need. It sounds like he has the financial situation. Those really are the main qualifying factors. What is going to happen with that assisted living is that we're going to have to figure out how to separate the room and board from the care he's receiving. And that care that he's receiving, so whether it be meal preparation, whether it be the housekeeping they do of his areas, whether they're providing any hands-on assistance, any type of care that he's receiving, we're going to have to put a value to that and use that to apply as the unreimbursed medical expense. Room and board does not count. The VA does not count living expenses as a medical expense. So we've got to break out that care, get a cost for that, and then put the application in. So call me. You have my email now, and we're going to help this guy.
Yeah. His name's Sheldon. So I'm doing a GoFundMe. I'm trying to raise money to try to cover the cost of his care until VA gets approved. So far I've got a little over half of what I've put out there. So I'm trying to make it happen. First time I've ever done something like this in the 19 years I've been in business now. So this is a new thing, but when you see in a situation, you can't help but want to help.
I can tell you, in 10 years, I can remember almost every veteran and surviving spouse I've met. They all occupy a space in my heart and mind. And it's a gift, like what we get to do, because these people just, they've lived the most amazing lives. They have the most amazing stories. I mean, my enjoyment of meeting them is just hearing the stuff that I read about in history books. It's like they lived through these things, and
Right, yeah.
it's a really cool thing to be able to give back to this community. So yes, call me.
Yeah. I feel so blessed to have been able to work for Medi-Cal and know the Medi-Cal the way I do. But when it comes to VA, it's just not my forte. So it's great to know people like you, Carmen. I'm glad we got reconnected.
Me too.
It's great to have NAIPC as a little part of your senior toolbox. So this is a perfect example. I'm just going to let you all know we're going to run a little bit over, but we'll just, Carmen, if you can stay and address all the questions, We'll just run through them. Everyone on the call, if you have to drop off and you asked a question, I will still have Carmen answer the question, and it will be on the link on the replay. So if you have to drop off, thanks for joining us, but I'm just going to keep running through these questions if it's all right with you.
Absolutely. I'm here for it.
This is a hot topic today. So is the veteran required to go with your program to obtain assistance with the application?
No, absolutely not. And I think I really was trying to speak to that on one of my slides. Just there are so many places you can go to get help. Our program is a home care program specifically. We really do try to help people qualify for the maximum benefit available through home care, because that's kind of a streamlined process that we have down. You can go to a VA accredited attorney. You can go to the VSO. You can go to the local county office for veterans. You can go, you can get this done at a VA clinic or a hospital. There's financial advisors, there's nonprofit organizations. There's so many opportunities and places where you can go, and there's no charge for completing this application. So no, our program's not at all.
And can you put your information in the chat box so people can contact you? And I know Carolyn was asking, can you help in Southern California area? I know you have some representatives down here, and you're in all 50 states. Is that right?
We are in 48 states.
48. I was close.
Michigan and Montana. But yeah, I'm going to pop it in right now. I'm going to put my direct line only for this group, because I know if you call me, you need me.
That's awesome. Thank you. I see some others were asking for your information. And how can we get the VA count per county that you were mentioning?
Go ahead, just shoot me an email. I put my email in the chat box and I will get it over to you. I was debating whether to include it in the slide presentation, but I'm like, gosh, this is so much information already. But I do have it. Actually, I have it readily available because I just pulled that slide out before I started.
We can share that with everybody too. If you send it to me, I can include that in the recording that goes out.
Perfect.
Yeah. Russ up in San Francisco near you, one of your chapter members, a new member up there. Does money from a mortgage, like a reverse mortgage, count as part of net worth for qualifying purposes? If it's a line of credit, the money wouldn't be used or deposited until needed.
Very good question. Let me explain it this way. On reverse mortgages, if it is received in a lump sum, it is counted as income. It is counted as an asset. If it is received in monthly distribution, it is not counted as income. It is not counted as an asset. That is probably the simplest form. If it is a line of credit, I'm going to have to get some more information because I'm not sure. If that is being held as a lump sum or if it's just being held as a distribution as needed. So let me get some more information. But lump sum, yes, it's counted. Monthly distribution, no, it's not.
Interesting.
Thank you very much.
Oh, hey, Russ.
Hey, how you doing, Carmen? Yeah, line of credit is basically just like a regular bank line of credit. So you only use it as you need it. So
it's very possible it won't be counted as an asset because it's not necessarily attached as a full liquid asset.
Right. Yeah.
So but let me find out. I mean, I think that's a great question, but I will find out.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that is a great question. And just to add to that, Carmen, Medi-Cal, when you're wanting to qualify for Medi-Cal and you want to get a reverse mortgage, the line of credit is the best way to go when you're worrying how it's going to affect the Medi-Cal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was
good to
thinking,
know.
Lisa. Yeah. Thank you.
we might just need you to do a Medi-Cal presentation. I think we could take up hours on that for our California folks. Speaking of which, Cindy, who is in LA and also doing reverse mortgages, what if a veteran has a certain amount of medical expenses today, gets assistance, and 6 months later the expenses increase? Can they reapply for more?
So that's a very good question. If they have a certain amount of expenses today, so say it's a single veteran, he applies with expenses today and gets approved for say $1,000 because that's all the expenses he submitted. He doesn't have to reapply to get the additional increase. There actually is just going to be a modification of that original application to get the rest of the income, the rest of the pension, the 1936. So the additional $900 will just you'll go back in, submit a modification, say these are my new expenses, and the increased amount you'll be entitled to. If you're already getting the maximum pension, no matter how much more you submit, they don't have any more. They just won't give any more. There's a one amount. It's for the whole country. As a single veteran, 1936 is the maximum you'll get.
Great. And I think that was the last question, unless somebody has something that popped up. Fritzy put in one of the local home care companies, she's in San Diego, opened a foundation to support veterans during the waiting period. So that's good to know.
Wonderful.
Maybe you could share more about that and I could put it in the newsletter with the follow-up with our case study information. So let's see, something else just popped up. Don't see Carmen's contact info. Can you just pop it in one more time for us?
Yes, I can.
And this was a great topic. Thank you so much. I knew we were going to get a lot of questions and a lot of attendees for this one. So that was great. And I'm looking around. I was watching the replay of one of these videos and I realized my eyes are going all over the place, but the camera's right there. So I look a little bit crazy when I'm looking at everybody, but Carmen's information is there. So if we don't have any other questions, we'll end it for today. If anyone is watching the recording or on YouTube and you have any questions about this presentation, you can send them to naipc@ageandplace.org. And we will be sure to connect you with Fritzy or Carmen or someone that can answer your question. So thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you again next month. The third Thursday of every month, we're doing these national meetings. So we'll see you next month. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.